Hello, everyone. Hello. This is Alexandra L live with The Pulse. Since January 20th, 2025, President Trump has signed multiple executive orders, worked on bringing peace to the Middle East, India, and Pakistan, and so forth. And President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance keep calling out Zelensky/Putin. More illegals on a daily basis are being removed from our country. The Trump tax cuts are going into expansion now, finally, and the cost of eggs and gas is finally going down. And of course, the manufacturing jobs are on the up and up, and corrupt federal employees are getting the boot. Sounds like a great day for America, right? And as we all know, President Trump got so many Democrats and independents to cross the aisle and vote for him in the general, because at the end of the day, the majority of the people agreed that our country was going down the toilet. But of course, if we had free and fair elections in all 50 states, we'd be able to really see the true election results. That's why the big, beautiful bill was so important to pass. Isn't that why you congressmen and senators got elected and reelected, to do these things for we, the people? Yes, that is correct. And it's very important now, as we have a jam-packed show, to discuss every single detail that is going on in Congress and beyond. Let's introduce our hosts and our special guests. So this guy is as real as he comes, our very own Popeye the Sailor Man, Seth Eisenberg of the Conservative Corner. Woo! And our next host of the Jersey Shore, we call him the Hammer, our very own Damon Galdo.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining.
So this other Floridian, she's smart. She can be a little feisty, but please do not mess with her bananas. Our very own fruit liaison, Elena Barber from the Base Mother.
Hello, Alexandra.
And our very special guest tonight, this man is known for being a rhino hunter. Our very own Tim Fazenbaker. Okay, well, let's bring everybody in.
Look at Popeye.
Awesome. Yeah, where's Popeye? So everyone says segment 1 starts right now. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, the Biden cover-up. It's still in the headlines. The auto pen. Is this worse than Watergate? I'll take it to you, Damon Galdo.
Yeah, well, I think it definitely is worse than Watergate. I talked about it on my podcast on Monday, and how it's still evading the headlines. It was a New York Times article they put out there, and they talked about everything, and then you had to get like 7 paragraphs down before they actually got into the real part of it, saying that he did use the auto pen, and had his aides use the auto pen, but he gave them a category of people that he wanted to pardon. He did not give them individuals, other than probably Hunter Biden and a couple other people, but he gave them a category of people. So they got to choose who to pardon. He didn't know who he was pardoning. What it did to some of the families of the criminals that were in jail for a long time, it destroyed their family already. They said they're destroying our family again with this pardon by letting the criminals out that either murdered someone in their family or did something very harmful to their family. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't know who they were. And I think giving the powers of the executive branch to an aide is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm glad they're looking into it. I'm sure it will get overturned. I hope it gets overturned. It has to get overturned because you can't just do that. And to have that power to do that, you have to speak with the individual, know about the individual, and find out why you're actually going to give them a pardon. Not just give a blanket category and tell the aides, hey, this is my category, find who they are and pardon them and use my auto pen. That's just wrong.
So, Tim, they actually said that the only thing that maybe Joe Biden pardoned was his family, but everybody else, including Dr. Fauci, was confirmed through the auto pen. So wouldn't you say that Dr. Fauci, probably his pardon should be revoked and he should go to jail? What say you?
I agree with that. I'll play devil's advocate here. I do not believe this is as serious as, say, Watergate. And I'm not going to get into Watergate. I wasn't alive. But the reason I'm saying that is, ultimately, what's going to happen with this is nothing. And I wish I were wrong, but we've seen it before. Biden already came out, and we know he's compromised mentally, but he already came out and said, oh, I gave permission for all that stuff. So ultimately, it's going to be a fundraising thing for the Republican Party based on this. Now, I completely think it's wrong. I just know the establishment will do nothing about this, and everybody will just go free. And it's sad, but yes, people like Fauci should be held accountable for the crimes that he's been accused of, along with the others that were given this pardon and these first time ever pardons that go back to a certain time and include any type of crime that could have happened. It's crazy. But I ask everybody, do you really think anything will come out of this besides more of a show? I wish I were wrong again, but I just don't think anything will happen. But it is horrible, and it should be corrected so that it never happens again, with some kind of safety net, and in a sense where nobody can do what happened there ever again.
Well, Elena, let me shift this to you, because Adam Schiff, the senator, he was, part of the pardons with the auto pen. And of course, President Trump called him out, I think today and yesterday, about how he, he's a senator of California, but yet he's a permanent resident of the state of Maryland. What say you about that?
Oh, well, yes. Was it the mortgage fraud thing that
Yeah,
you're
the mortgage fraud thing.
Yes, that's interesting. Well, they're all crooked, and just to point out one is to point out them all. I mean, yes, he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law on that, because you or I would be prosecuted on that, and they went after Trump on that. As a, are we switching gears entirely, or are we still on auto pen? Because one way, I think, just to tie the two together to prevent this in the future, is ban the use of the auto pen forever. Why? I don't care if your hand gets tired signing things as the president. That's part of the job. It's a hard job, because this is how things like this will continue to happen. And I hate to think that Tim is right. He probably is. And I also believe, on the other hand, that there is plenty of evidence that would contradict Biden's statement saying, "Oh, I knew all about everything." Like, yeah, okay. Like, I'm sure there's hard evidence in emails and texts and data that show that was not the case. But again, I don't think they'll prosecute. Will they go after Schiff? I don't know. Maybe it'll just get him to sit down and shut up for a little while. That would be nice too. I'd settle for that.
Well, I know that was one of the things when Kash Patel came in as FBI director, and then of course he hurt Devin Nunes when he was the congressman, and now Devin Nunes is kind of working behind the scenes. So I don't think they're going to let this go 100%. But I agree with you on a lot of the things that you said, and as well as Tim. Seth, what say you about this with the auto pen, with what's going on? Do you think this is worse than Watergate?
Nope. No, I don't think it's worse than Watergate, because part of Watergate, if you look from the beginning to end, people lost their lives. There was physical damage with Watergate. What we have now is just some bruised egos, some screaming and yelling and finger pointing and name calling. That's it. And nothing like
people died with the auto pen. Like, we don't know. Like, if Biden wasn't running the country, I mean, so many people have died in decisions that were made out of that administration. Just throwing that in. I'd like you to consider that in your.
I still think Watergate was much worse. That was about a war. That involved a war we were involved with, doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. But nothing's going to happen. I don't know why everybody even brings that question. Well, what do you think will happen? Nothing is going to happen to anybody in politics. Nothing. Nothing will happen. They can kill people. Nothing happens to them. They can rape people. Nothing happens to them. They have a fund in D.C. to cover sexual harassment allegations for congressmen. Nothing will happen to these people. It's like going, hey, is water wet? Yeah, it's a little wet, and it stays wet. Politicians are crooked, and they're going to stay crooked because nothing happens to them. Like I said before, they're going to have hearings, screaming and yelling, pointing, and hey, we're going to ruin you. You're going to jail. And they're all going to go drink beers together and laugh about us going, believe in them. Nothing's going to happen to any of them. I don't even know why. Let them auto pen everything. Who gives a shit? Because nothing happens to them. I mean, really, let's change the president every day. Like, hey, I'm the president today. Tomorrow's going to be Mike down the street, just because we can do it. Because you people won't stop us. Nothing's going to happen to anybody.
Well, speaking of legislation, speaking of Congress, so let's put up this slide. Damon, share it, please. Well, no, not that one. The next one, about $9 billion. There we go. Thank you. So the Cartier family, and this is a very misleading post. Elena and I talked about this earlier. $9 billion in Doge cuts have officially passed the Senate. USAID officially loses $8 billion, and NPR and PBS, which is mainstream media, horrible people, officially lose over $1 billion. Quote, I voted for this. So actually, the $9 billion in Doge cuts, they have advanced they have advanced, meaning there was a vote, a 50-50. JD Senate, or the president of the Senate, JD Vance, came in. He broke the tie, made it 51-50 for a motion to allow to debate. And then once they debate, they'll vote on it this week. If it passes in the Senate, then it goes back to the House. If it passes in the House, then President Trump will come in and sign it. I say this to Tim as the elected official on this network. What say you about this?
Yeah, I mean, look, most Americans for a long time have wanted to defund NPR, PBS, all these things that, whether you agree with their stances and their biases or not, why are we funding it? I mean, they should compete in the free market like everybody else. And obviously, we've seen once they're being funded, they're going to make sure that they continue with pushing their narrative through that stuff. That's the way government always works. So, yeah, the process really, for a lot of people who don't really get into the nitty gritty of the political wonkiness and stuff, like my dogs do, they will end up basically now debating this topic in the Senate and then vote. And if they get 51 votes at that point, then it will move on.
So Damon Galdo, this was about, cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse. Elon Musk was the head of Doge. He was working on this with President Trump until he kind of went like ape shit. So what is your advice on this? What do you think should happen right now?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's only $9 billion. So anyone that's up in arms over $9 billion of cuts, I was listening to Senator Ron Johnson earlier, and actually, as he said it, I was thinking of it, like $9 billion, how many trillion is that? And he said that's $7,000 billion, to describe it. I think he was on the Faulkner Focus. And I was thinking in my mind too, I was at work and I was like, yeah, it's kind of right about that. I mean, that puts it in perspective. It's like 0.12% of cutting from budget. So all these things that are cutting from USAID and NPR and all that stuff, it's no one's going to even notice it. There are all these pet projects they had for DEI, and I'm not even going to go into wherever it was for something stupid. So it needs to be cut. I think we need to cut more. So that's my thoughts on it. I mean, I don't know why it's an issue, why it's a big deal that Doge is going in here and trying to make these cuts and wasting taxpayer dollars. I think we're just tired of it. I would rather see it go to something better. I'd rather see it to go into my pocket than anything else, but at least go to something better than fund schools, fund programs for, not the NEA, but like the proper schooling and teach what's supposed to be there, or for special needs people, something like that. Because I know a lot of people are up in arms about the Medicaid cuts. And it's going to cut. I don't want to go out way off in left field, but use it for something like that people are afraid that they're going to cut. People that need it. It doesn't need to go where they want it to go. So $9 billion is nothing compared to our deficit.
Well, remember, Seth, they were trying to, the USAID, as you saw, it was like for a puppet show for Sesame Street. And now we see there's like issues with Elmo. He's anti-Semitic now. And then it was giving condoms to people in Gaza. I mean, it was just like craziness. So what say you about this? Why, why is this such an issue? This should be bipartisan across the board, that we have wasted so much money, taxpayer dollars, on all of this crap.
I want to brace myself for this one.
That's the key word, taxpayer dollars. It doesn't affect them. They don't care. It's not coming out of their pockets. They're coming out of our pockets. And if they don't get enough, they just raise taxes on us, or they stick us with some other fee, or they charge us more for this or more for that. There is no end to the bullshit coming out of DC, and there is no end coming from the bullshit coming out of DC. It's going to just continue. I mean, Trump will stem the tide for a while because he can, but 3 years from now, when he's out and somebody else comes in, it all just picks up again. New faces, same game, doesn't change. They could cut 47 billion, trillion, zillion right now, and in 3 years, they're going to add it all back. It's a shell game. Look at this, don't look at this. All right, now look at this, don't look at this. Don't look at this, don't look at that. It's never ending. And and I say it all the time, until the people get enough, until we've had enough, it's not going to end. It
Mhm.
won't.
Mhm. Elena, what say you?
I couldn't agree with Seth more. We want optimism to think that things can change, but things are not going to change until, as Seth said politely, the polite version of how it's going to go down. People have had enough. That's the only way we're allowed to say it, isn't it? It's without being harassed. So we can have little moments of victory like this. Now, okay, we'll save 9 billion here. 1/10% is a lot of money when you're talking about the whole, and if we can do this again and again and again, it would be really nice to stop taking money and put that money back into the American taxpayers' pockets. Because all those special needs people and all those things that we need money for, like, we can spend money on our own families. We can we can stimulate the economy with those dollars. So one of the things that Senator Kennedy was pointed out was that we were trying to get cut here was $500,000, which, we throw these numbers around like they don't mean anything, but that would change an American family's life, or 5 American families' lives with that kind of money. But we were going to send it to Rwanda so that they could buy some electric buses. I mean, what else is in these bills? So the reason that there's been a little bit of pushback and concern that it may not get passed is because there seems to be some confusion over the details, and like, people are afraid that some babies are going to be thrown out with the bathwater.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I don't care. Throw out the babies and the bathwater. If it's a baby we really needed, then we'll deal with it.
I agree with you. Moving on to segment 2. So, as you know, deportations are still very hot. As you know, me and Elena, our wonderful governor, opened up the first alligator Alcatraz with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. DHS is starting to open up alligator Alcatrazes all over the country, but specifically in red states. And detainees have to brush their teeth while they poop. Which Damon Galdo pointed that out.
Yes,
Interesting. So, my question to you, Damon Galdo, is, you live in New Jersey. It's a very liberal state, but you are, in an election cycle right now with hopefully a Republican governor coming in. Do you think, let's say, if the Republican wins, will there be an alligator Alcatraz in your state?
Well, we don't have alligators here, so we have to name it something else for one.
Rats.
Garden State Alcatraz. There we go. Yeah. Garden State Alcatraz.
So maybe, but I would hope so. I hope if Jack Chiarelli wins this election, and I hope he does, and I would like to help him out as much as I can, because we cannot get Mikey Sherrill in. We can't handle another 4 years of like Governor Murphy, who's being turned out right now, and that's Mikey Sherrill. But I'm hoping Jack gets in, and I hope Jack is going to get rid of the sanctuary state, New Jersey, which is great. So I hope there will be, and I hope Scott Pressler's watching right now. He just texted me. So Scott, if you're watching, make a comment there. Scott is doing a great job in PA and New Jersey to get the right people elected. So Scott, if you have any comments on it, just throw it out there. And I don't know what kind of Alcatraz we could have in New Jersey, maybe like a tomato Alcatraz, because we're known for tomatoes.
Camden.
Okay, well, okay, yeah, just put them all in Camden. There you go, and put a fence around it. There you go. Delaware River. No one's going to get across into Philly. You don't want to go to Philly. Trust me, I'm born and raised there. So yeah, so there you go. It'll be like an eel Alcatraz, because nobody jumps in Delaware River at all. You come out full black and oil, and it's disgusting. I've never seen anyone jump in and come back out. So yeah, there you go. There you go. That's where we put the Alcatraz in New Jersey if Jack wins.
So Elena, like I said, you and I are very fortunate. Our governor was the first governor to open up an alligator Alcatraz. He opened it up in like 3 weeks. What say you about, if you've been watching what has been going on over there? The minute that President Trump got there, when President Trump left, they had illegals coming in there. And to me, when I saw the look of it, I mean, it didn't look like a nice place to hang out in.
No, it didn't look like a nice place, but it didn't look that bad either. I mean, these lefties complaining about how these prisoners are being taken care of. Did any of them go and check out to see the conditions that the children who were working on the marijuana farm, to see what kind of living conditions they had? I don't know if they did. I seem to miss that video, but they're very concerned about how MS-13 members are brushing their teeth. It looked decent enough. They were enclosed.
And I meant to say, I don't want to hang out there. I'm saying that it did look bad. I'm sorry. I
Oh, you're saying it didn't look that bad, right? Yeah, no. I mean, it looks like a jail. It looks, like I don't want to be there. But driving through the Everglades is lovely if you're not in a cage. I mean, you get to see the wide open space. The alligators are cool, as long as you're not having to swim through them to, escape the authorities, it's fine. I'm all for alligator Alcatraz. And man, Ron DeSantis is proving himself again and again and again to be fantastic. And the one reason I didn't want him to become president is because I didn't want to lose him as my governor.
A lot of people felt that way too, including myself.
Real quick, I just want to say one thing. I forgot about the brush your teeth where they poop thing that I put in there, because that's actually what they said. Like, God forbid they brush your teeth. I don't know anybody else. If anyone else has a different habit, different room for teeth, the brush.
If anybody's in Alligator Alcatraz right now and you're watching the show, please tell us what's going on over there. Please.
Maybe they need toothbrush covers. Maybe that'll be humane. Because I know I brush my teeth where I poop, not in the bowl, but next to it. So.
Oh my God, I think I'm gonna throw up.
Yes, it's all very close in my house too. Gosh, I can't believe how bad we have to live.
I brush my teeth in the shower.
So Tim, this goes to you, and then this also goes to Seth. So you guys are the Maryland guys, and of course, it's very liberal. You have a horrible governor. Tim, would you ever see an Alcatraz in Maryland?
No, but I have to say, girls don't poop, so that's not an issue.
I thought girls don't fart.
They don't do that either. So unless they're liberal, but I don't know about that. Anyway, at least they're brushing their teeth, so that's going to save us money on getting cavities filled. So, but hopefully, look, what President Trump's trying to do really is also make it so it's not inviting for illegals to come here. They're seeing, okay, we're being serious. It's hard to get in. It's hard to get benefits. It might be nasty if we're there and we get caught and then we got to go live with the alligators and stuff. Here's something about Maryland that I have to bring up, because it actually is popping in the news, and part of my platform has been talking about what is happening in Pennsylvania, and that is you see Pennsylvania getting revitalization in these steel towns out in Western PA.
Yep.
Where they're going to bring in artificial intelligence and tech jobs at State College in the center of the state. And that's what I've said about places like Maryland. If you're not familiar with Maryland we have the Bay, and it's great real estate. But here you have a state like Maryland that is actually getting rid of power plants. Now we have to import power from Pennsylvania. So they're charging a lot of money, and they're going to charge a whole lot more once those AI buildings are going in place. Why isn't something like Maryland, who has access to the Atlantic Ocean with that bay, we have these ports, why aren't we putting those jobs here? Mm-hmm. And this state needs to change. And I would love to have something go up where we call it Crab Alley or something like that, where, you're surrounded by crabs. Maybe they put a floating barge in the bay and they surround it with crabs and stuff like that. And you try to get out and you get the crabs.
Have it near Back River, because people go into Back River, they'll die.
Back River is a wastewater treatment plant in the area in Maryland, in case you don't know. And you don't want to get in that water either. But that's the difference. You have a liberal state like Maryland who does everything to harm people for whether they believe they're doing right or wrong. And then we go to another state to try to, we don't have enough power, and let's get it from you. And it costs people in Maryland and people like in California, it costs them a lot more to live because of these liberal, stupid policies. That's something I'm going to change when I'm in. And that's something I think everybody in every state really wants to do, is get common sense back into the government and get these liberal, socialist, Marxists out.
I agree. And Seth, I'm going to lean into two things with you, because we're going to go into Thomas Holman and bring him in on this. So again, we're talking about, Alligator Alcatraz, and we're talking about there's a lot of illegal criminals that live in your state, and you have a horrible attorney general who's up for re-election that said recently that he is not going to work with ICE, even though we just passed the one big beautiful bill under law. He has to work with ICE. What say you about this?
Well, he can't ignore federal law. He can run his mouth all he wants to and say, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. The law is the law. He can posture all he wants. And the only person he's impressing is himself. Anybody with an IQ above a flip-flop nose, You can't ignore federal law. It's that simple. State laws can be harsher than federal law, but they can't be less than a federal law. So he has no choice. So he just needs to shut the hell up, have a Coke, a smile, and walk his happy ass down to Blackwater and have a swim. But as far as Alligator Alley, maybe I'm old-fashioned this way. Why the hell are we keeping these people here, paying to have them stay here, paying to feed them, paying to clothe them, paying to house them? Send them back already. Stop bitching about the money we're spending on them so we can spend more money on them to keep them here before we send them back. Send them home already. I don't want to spend a dime any more than I have to. And they've already said they're not going to be able to have bond hearings. So why are they still here? Why are we still paying what? $30,000
I think it's that point that
every day to house? No.
Yeah, I was going to say, Seth, I think it's the point that she made because of what the Supreme Court did, and that they have to stay here until they have their bond hearings.
They just said they're not going to give the bond hearings.
Right, but hold on. Instead of them being out and about and killing innocent Americans, we're like, well, instead of them being out and about, we're going to put them in these Alcatrazes, to keep them locked up. I think that's the reasoning behind it.
And then we'll spend more money than we were spending before when they were here, just to keep them fed and housed and air conditioned and all that.
I think it's cheaper than a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, man.
You know what's even cheaper?
And a cash
card.
card.
Get back to your country the minute we catch you. We're done with you. We're not housing you. We're not playing patty cake. We're not trying to feed you. You are fucking done. We caught you. Goodbye. Here's your plane ticket. We're bringing you to a plane like every other country in the world does. When I was in Austria, if you stayed past your visa, they came and got you, marched your ass to their airport and said, get on the plane. And that was it. They didn't give you time. They didn't put you to prison to hold you to get you. They marched you right to the airport.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing that? We have them now. They're in Alcatraz. They're all in one place. Emptied out every week. Ship them home every week and then fill it back up and then ship them home every week. I don't understand why we're spending money while we're bitching about having to spend money on them. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, Seth, I think it's a holding period until they go through their bond, and then they will ship them out. It's the same thing with Kilmar Abrego. We held him in Maryland, and then he went through the court system, and they found him guilty again, and then they shipped him the hell out.
Yeah, but they've already said they're not entitled to bond hearings. So why are we holding them? For what purpose now? They're not going to get in front of a judge. They're not going to be able to plead their case. They've said they will not give them bond hearings. So why are they still here? What are we waiting for?
That's a good question.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because of what the left will do. All it takes is one person to get caught up and be deported by accident, and without having that little holding time. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for one person. And if that happened, yeah, it would be tragic. That I'm sure we would get them back. But they're looking for one person, one sad story, and they're going to jump all over it, and they're going to make it look like it's the most horrible thing ever. And that's why they're beholden to play this game, just for to play the politics and play into it like a show. That's why.
I agree with you. We're going to go into the YouTube clip. This was Thomas Homan. He was speaking at Turning Point USA with Charlie Kirk. Let's play the clip, please.
Wait 3 or 5 years. Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I got a question. No. I got a question for you. Why don't you come up here and hand me that picture? Bring it. They got morons like this all over the country. This guy wouldn't like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. The only thing that surprises me, you don't have purple hair and a nose ring. Get out of here, you loser.
So, Elena, my question goes to you. So I've been to Turning Point USA summits. First of all, why the hell was this heckler even, allowed in there? I know for a fact that they do not vet the people that go in there. But look at the strength of Border Czar Thomas Homan. I mean, this guy is coming up against him, calling him an MS-13 gang member. It's just craziness. What say you about it?
What I appreciated most about Homan's response was his general humor about it. He could have been a little bit more, diplomatic or dignified, but he used humor to diffuse the situation and lightened it up. And that was the most important thing that I want to give him credit for there. And as far as them coming in, let him in. I don't care. You know, he bought a ticket. The right infiltrates events all the time. I mean, I talk to my friends who infiltrate pride events to go watch naked people dance in front of children and come back and report it to the world. It needs to be done. Let them go in there and say, you know, well, look at us, look at all us weirdos, like not with blue hair and dress normal and you know, just able to have a conversation without bursting into tears or hysterics, and that they think that we're weird for doing that. Let them come on in and get a taste. I don't mind.
Seth, what say you about this? What say you about the heckler and how Thomas Homan handled this?
I like it. I mean, we got to start pushing back. We've been too quiet and too affable for too long. So now these people think they can just do and say what they want, where they want, when they want. So we just need to start pushing back. And I saw no problem with what he did. I don't think he was harsh enough personally, but that's just me. But yeah, every time they have something stupid to say, we need to get right back on them and belittle them and make them feel worthless, more worthless than they already are, because that's what they do to us. That's what they've been doing to us for years. We've just been, okay, just, you know, let him say what he's got to say, freedom of speech. But you know what? Freedom of speech works both ways. You get to say something, I get to say something. It's that simple.
So Tim, you and we know Thomas Homan personally. Tim and I are actually brand ambassadors for an organization called We Back Blue, which is formed and funded by our friend Melissa Roby. Tom Homan was the first speaker in DC with us, and this was during the Black Lives Matter movement. But one of the biggest things, the greatest takeaways, was that Thomas Homan talked about the fentanyl crisis. And he talked about how he would witness young people and they would just die in their arms, from an illegal criminal, but also from overdosing on fentanyl. As you know, Tim, in your area in Baltimore City, they had this huge overdose thing that just happened. I think they proved that maybe there was fentanyl in the drugs. And as you know, President Trump, I think, just signed into law about fentanyl and about how he is cracking down on the fentanyl in this country. Please elaborate on that, Tim.
Yeah, so recently in Baltimore, and I think it was the west side of Baltimore, there was 25, 29 people that overdosed all at the same time. And coincidentally, I had been speaking with someone who runs an organization called Lost Voices of Fentanyl. And you know, it's something that, you know, I've never been into recreational drugs. Many of us haven't, but it happens. People do. And the woman was telling me about, you know, a lot of times with fentanyl, you know, innocent people are just touching a baggie and it has it on there and that it kills them. It's poison. You know, you can debate whether the people that are taking drugs and they know they have fentanyl, you know, if they're making that decision or not, that's a whole nother situation. But a lot of people she was even showing me, they're like, they might be doing cocaine and it's got fentanyl in it. And people aren't necessarily aware, or you're taking an illegal Xanax and it's got fentanyl in it. And I asked why, and it's because it's cheaper and it's more addictive and it's killing people. So that could be the motive for places like China with the opium fields, just saying, you know, just kill Americans with this kind of stuff. So what was allocated or was pushed to me, and what I'm trying to also make aware is that, you know, it's a poison. You know, all drugs in a sense can be poison, but this is a poison. And a lot of people that are involved in any kind of illegal drugs or whatever, they're taking poison not knowing that it necessarily has poison in it. And I'm going to read just a couple of sentences about what President Trump signed today, which talks about that. But President Trump signed the Halt Fentanyl Act into law at a White House ceremony today. The bipartisan legislation permanently classifies that all fentanyl-related substances, including synthetic analogs, as Schedule I drugs. The act aims to strengthen prison sentences for fentanyl traffickers and close loopholes that allow cartels to evade prosecution by altering chemical compounds and streamline research into fentanyl analogs for treatment so that people can get treatment for this kind of stuff. I guess there are people that aren't able to get some kind of treatment when they're addicted to fentanyl. So kudos to President Trump. And, you know, you could say, well, that's not enough. And I agree, there needs to be more, but that's a huge start. And a lot of people weren't even aware that, I guess, that fentanyl had loopholes where people weren't going to prison for putting this stuff in there. And I've heard other things, that it's not just fentanyl, they're putting antifreeze in this drugs and all that because it's cheaper and it's killing people and addictive or whatever. And bottom line is, there are Americans, yeah, they do have problems. They do have addiction. Many people do. We need to take care of our own people. And you can't save them all, but if we can save people and get them the help that they need, I'd rather be doing that than giving money and resources to illegal aliens and foreign adversaries. And let's take care of our own people. So thank you to President Trump and Thomas Homan for pushing this as a main issue.
Amen. And Damon, just to end the segment before we go to break, you're very good friends with Ann Funder. As you know, she lost her son to a fentanyl overdose. What say you about this topic?
Well, I'm very glad that Trump got this through, but yeah, it's a very sad thing. I have 2 children myself. I couldn't imagine what Ann was going through. I had her on my radio show before and stuff like that in the podcast, and I don't know how she gets through it to talk about it, because I don't know if I'd be able to be honest with you. And it's a very hard thing, and yeah, it needs to be stopped. And that's why I'm glad that Tom Homan and President Trump are working together to close our borders and stop the fentanyl, because it's only enriching the cartels and China, because China makes precursors to it. They sell it to the cartels and they traffic it over the border. So the fact that they're closing down the border and it's slowing down the fentanyl coming, into our country. Yeah, and passing this is great. I mean, it's a step in the right direction anyway. It's always going to happen in some way, shape, or form, but right direction, great accomplishment, and that's where we need to go.
I agree with everybody and everything that you guys just said. Well, coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about, again, the Epstein files and the list. And we'll be right back after the break.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra L.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra L. with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to America's Pulse Network with The Pulse. Again, we have our host, Damon. We have our other host, the Conservative Corner, Seth Eisenberg, when his face is showing. And we have our 2 main guests, Elena Barbara, and of course, Tim Basin-Baker.
He's on the list.
Oh, God. Well, this is interesting. So, Seth, I'm going to pivot to you because you just texted me something very bizarre. It was Hillary Clinton with a blue check mark. It's supposed to be her account. When it has a blue check mark, that means you're verified. And it says, release the Epstein files. And then Bill Clinton with a check mark verified says, honey, WTF, exclamation. So I think that was a meme. Very cute. Thank you. So I'll pivot to you, Seth. What do you think about the Epstein files? As you know, and we'll put that slide up, Damon Sherrod of President Trump. No, not that one. No, we're not there yet. Yeah, there you go. President Trump, he doubled down again on, the Epstein files. He, even said to some of his supporters, he said, you're feeding into the Democrats and what they want. And it's interesting that the Democrats now want the releasing of the files. The rhinos want the releasing of it. Nikki Haley said, let's release the files. So, what say you about this, Seth? Do you think that there's really files? Do you think they've been shredded? Do you think President Trump has the list and he's holding, using it as a trump card and holding back? What do you think? What say you, Seth?
Well, I know why the Democrats want it released now is because Trump didn't. So now they're all like, well, we got to do it because he said no. Mm-hmm. I don't put any stock in what Democrats say or want or think anymore. They're all just full of shit. But as far as the Epstein files, I think Damon said it last Wednesday, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're holding back because there's an investigation. I don't know if they're holding back because they're afraid they're going to embarrass people. I don't know. I'm willing to give the man the benefit of the doubt, give it 6 months. Maybe there is something working behind the scenes that we don't know. And they're slow rolling something. Then all of a sudden, boom, hey, this is why we held it back, because this person, and this person were involved and they're still active in politics. So now we can release it because we have enough to arrest on. I don't know. And then there's people who've been saying that, Epstein was Mossad and he was using his blackmail. And I told those people, I don't give a shit if the guy was from Venus. He had the actual facts. It really happened. I don't care who or how they got it. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. There's children involved. Something's got to be done. So I don't care where the information came from. It's truth. That's all that matters. Like I said last Wednesday, I'm willing to give the guy 6 months. Maybe there's an investigation. There's something going on, and they're just trying to downplay it so these people are comfortable and make a mistake, and then they can get them. So I hope in 6 months something happens within the 6 month period.
So, Elaine, I know you're really passionate on this subject, and just the news, which is written by Jonathan Solomon, he wrote that President Trump is actually embracing a special counsel for weaponization probe into Epstein. In return, President Trump said he would classify two very important things. He would classify the prosecution of the misleading of the Clinton email scandal. So he would declassify what Michael Horowitz, said in front of Congress in regards to the Clinton email scandal. And then the second thing that he would declassify is the Clinton plan intelligence, which Hillary Clinton had personally approved a plan to conduct the collusion scandal against President Trump. What say you about this?
Well, hell yeah. Let's take a look at all of that. I'm in. I would love to see it. Now, as far as the reason I think he lumped Epstein in with this is to bolster his brand new claims that it's all a hoax. I mean, obviously, right? So what bothers me is he campaigned on it. Pam Bondi came out with the binders. We've been hearing about this all along. We have flight logs that were somewhat redacted. Like, there is evidence, there is stuff out there. And now all of a sudden he's going, there's nothing to see here. It's a hoax. It feels like such BS. And, to Seth's point, maybe it is BS just to get people off guard. But did he have to insult his base? Does he have to act like it doesn't matter in the meantime? Could there not have been a better way to handle this? I am aggravated. And you know what? And if I'm and I will never regret being aggravated. If Seth is right and in 6 months there is this big I'd like to ask you, Seth, too, where you came up with that timeline, just out of curiosity. But like, say this big, revelation.
Pull it out of his butt.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Like, this big revelation comes out in 6 months. I'm not going to regret being angry, because I will always be vocal when it comes to prosecuting perverts who sexually abuse children. So Trump, I see all the good, and I don't want to hear, what about this? What about this? What about this? Yeah, I know he's doing good, and I give him credit, and I have supported him since he came down that golden escalator. This insult to his base, though, he is not handling it well. And he keeps doubling, tripling down and making it worse, and just making us all go, are you kidding me, pal? This is the thing that, we've overlooked a lot. We've overlooked a lot. It comes to raping children, no. I have no, I'm really annoyed by this, how he's handling it.
Well, Tim, I want to pivot this to you, because, Tim and I, that's the thunder coming from my house. Tim and I think Damon Gal does too, and some people on the network, we follow some of the big, supporters that President Trump has, like Kat Turd, Sean Farash, Eric Daughtry, Nick Sorter, and so forth. And I know that President Trump has their numbers on speed dial as well. Do you think, they're writing all this stuff, but President Trump is maybe calling them behind the scenes, saying, and that's why he kind of called them out on social media a little bit? Is he kind of telling, like, Kat Turd and Eric Daughtry and Nick Sorter and Sean Farash to just, like, calm down a little bit, because, again, President Trump, he's going to do what he wants at the end of the day. And, he knows a lot more than what, Kat Turd and Eric Daughtry and Sean Farash and Nick Sorter know behind the scenes. What say you?
If I had to put money on this, I don't think we're ever going to find out. And I am upset with the way President Trump's handling this. And I do go back to the first term. I used to talk about, in the first term, I judged President Trump on 3 of his promises that he said. One of them, if you guys remember, was lock her up. And then afterwards, he said, well, I'm not really going to lock her up. I never forgot that, because you did gaslight us in a sense, and we all believe that she should have been locked up, Hillary Clinton. But then it was just poo-pooed and put away to the side. The same thing could be happening here. It could have been, well, I'm just going to push this, and then I'm just going to say, it's nothing. Okay, that's one avenue. But as Elena was saying, he's insulted millions of people that said, what's going on? And he's not dumb. So for him to do that, he has to know that there is a large segment of his base that want that information. We don't care who's on it. We want that information. I don't think Trump's on it personally. I don't think most people, most like wise people don't think that Trump's on it. But it's something's going on. Did he make a deal to get that big, beautiful bill passed by not releasing it and making it go away? I don't know. But yeah, I'm willing to say, okay, I'll give you 6 months to get this thing out. And maybe you have a plan, but don't insult us. You never insult your base and your voters. And that's what I can't figure out why he's doing it.
Well, Tim, I do want to follow up with you, because do you think, in your opinion, that maybe he has the list and he's just holding on to it for something that's his trump card, that he's holding on to it in his hand?
It's possible. When you go back and you think about Pam Bondi saying, we have this information, the whole thing about whether it's on my desk or not, okay, that can be nebulous, whatever. But they alluded to the fact that they had that information, and now we don't have anything. So do they have it? I think they do. Is some of it probably fake? Yeah. But that's what it needs to come out and say, well, this is what was out there, and this is what we believe was fake and staged, like the Steele dossier. We deserve to know that. Those victims deserve to know that. And, there are plenty of things that go on behind the scenes in this country and other countries that we probably shouldn't know. But you know what? If it involves kids and the heinous things that were going on, and somebody's already in prison for it, but nothing happened, which is Ghislaine Maxwell, we deserve to take care of those children and get them the justice they deserve for what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, Damon Galdo, they talked about maybe Ghislaine Maxwell was going to maybe, I don't know, open up her mouth and maybe, reveal some things. What say you about that?
Well, if she does, I hope she does. I mean, I don't know if she's going to or not, and I'll try to break this down as fast as I can. If she does, then great, then we'll have more information. As of right now, we have the information that we have. I don't have access to it. We don't have access to it. The elected officials have access to it. So it's either we trust that they're telling the truth, or we trust.
Me as the reporter doesn't have access to it.
What's that?
I said that me as a White House correspondent, I don't have access to it.
Exactly. So it's either we just say, okay, we're going to go with what they're telling us, and we'll see what comes out, like Seth, like 6 months later, or maybe there is a list or wasn't a list. But I just break it down to people in general, human beings. I think in my head, if you had a list that dangerous. Now, I'm not saying there's not a list. I know something bad, really bad happened, and everything that went on with the children and everything else. Yeah, people need to pay for it. Whoever was involved in it, they need to pay. But I'm just trying to think about, everyone wants the list. Now, the Democrats evidently had the list. If there was a list, they had it. All right, they were in power. They didn't release any of it. Okay, so now Trump gets in, and everyone says he campaigned on it. No, he campaigned on a lot of different issues, but that was one of the smart things. He said, "Yeah, I want to see what's on the list." It wasn't his platform, that he was running on. So people were upset with that, and I think Trump handled it a very wrong way with his base, and the way he snapped at people and he came at them. He shouldn't have done that. Pam Bondi handled it the wrong way. I think Dan Bongino handled it the wrong way going after Pam Bondi. So I don't know exactly what's going on there, but
that wasn't 100% confirmed that they had the huge fight and that Dan Bongino was going to resign. You think that was a sidebar thing that was not 100% confirmed, because President Trump on the tarmac said, "I talked to Dan Bongino, everything's good," and Dan Bongino didn't resign. So I think that was it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah, it's something we don't know. But to my point, if the Democrats had the list, why didn't they release it? Now, if Trump said whether he has the list and decided, I can't release it for whatever reason there could be, to use it against someone or not to damage the country, whatever it may be, there's that. And then maybe there is no list, because why would you have a list like that and it would be in the vault in the FBI sitting there? Like, who makes a list that damaging? But I'm not saying there isn't a list. I'm just saying the FBI having it is one thing.
It isn't necessarily a list like a diary that he kept, but the list could have been put together via an investigation. But
with human beings in general, if so many people had access, and there's a lot of people that would have access to that information, anybody would have said something. I think there is a list. I think there is a blacklist. There is something there. There was definitely a lot of wrongdoing, and I hope everyone gets punished for it. But it's just like the JFK files. I know we talked about last night. I'm going to compare it to that, but why would they like write it all down? Like, oh, our government killed our own president, and have it in a file stacked away in a vault somewhere, so someday someone can read it. Like, who wouldn't just burn the papers? You know, or be in the pocket of the person that's at the head of all this. So there's too many people are so flawed that there's got to be somebody that would come out like, yeah, I have this. What about the guy that collected the evidence? The guy that had the raid on his house. When he said grab his laptop, I'm like, whoa, what is this? So that guy right there just decided I'm going to turn it over. Right, where's he at? I want to know where the guy that issued the warrant, that collected the evidence, where's he at? Who did he talk to? He didn't talk to his wife or tell his friend or tell his coworker. Look at this list. It has Clinton on there. It has Bush on there. It has Trump on there, whatever it may be. You know, somebody would have said something because people are too flawed. So, yes, is there probably a list and a blacklist out there somewhere? Yeah, probably. But I just don't think it's there. So when Trump gets in, and his team gets in, and they're like, "Wow, they screwed it up. They botched it big time with how they presented it, and they don't have anything to offer. Maybe no, or maybe they do, but they can't do it. But either way, to get down to the end of it, if you look at it, what they tried to pass, and now now the Democrats are screaming, release the list. Okay, you want to release the list now? You had it in your power for all that time, and you did not do it. But now you see that Trump's base is very upset with him because they're not getting the information they wanted. So now they push, let's all release the list. They lose the vote, 211 to 210. Now, Pam Bondi said, we're never going to release it because in his laptop, it is thousands of hours of just child pornography, and we're not going to release it. So Democrats know whether he has a list or there is no list, it doesn't matter to them. They're saying, release the list now. Now they want it released because they know that they can't, whether they don't have it or they know they're not going to release child pornography out to the world because you can't. It's illegal. Because people will be looking it up and then you'll be breaking the law just by looking at it.
Well,
so
you
now they're jumping on it. They're jumping on it right now, and they're dividing Trump's base even more. And they're like, oh, look at the Democrats. Now they want it released because they know they can't release it one way or the other. They can't release it because it's either child pornography, they don't have it, or there's something hidden in the background where they can't. So I just wanted to put it out.
When you think about the files that have been released, the MLK files have been released. How long has that guy been? I mean, has he been dead? Same thing with JFK. When did he die? RFK. When did he die?
What did we find out?
Huh?
What did we find out?
60 years
Well,
old.
I found a lot more about MLK, than I knew by combing through those files. But we think about it. Those files were released. Those people died a long time ago. We can't even get the release of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And President Trump said he's going to release it. I believe he will, but we still don't know about the kid. We still don't know about his connections and so forth. And I think that's, what the pattern is. Okay, we have these older cases that have been released. Why aren't the newer cases, the more up-to-date files and cases being released today? What say you, Tim?
This government has so many secrets and corruption that, do we really think anything came out of the JFK files, or even the MLK files? And there were some things whispered about with a lot of that stuff. But, I agree with Damon. They're not going to keep a definitive list of everything that's there. They're going to get rid of some stuff, or you're just going to have to allude or whatever you think it happened. And will we really ever know what happened with this kid in Butler, PA? I don't think so. I think Trump will try to find out. Obviously, he's personally involved in that. But I think there are things that he can never get a hold of himself. And I think, that could be part of, the whole Epstein thing. But I still think Trump handled it poorly and insulted his base, which he never should have done. But he's got a couple more opportunities to handle Butler, PA, handle that other Ukrainian guy that was trying to kill President Trump down in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, that weirdo.
He still could redeem him with Epstein information.
But I do believe that President Trump is going to bring in a special prosecutor. I do. There's been some names floating around, like former Congressman Matt Gaetz and so forth. I think, in my opinion, that was probably a second game plan, was to bring Matt Gaetz in as a special prosecutor in there, or somebody else. Because I personally don't think that President Trump is going to wholeheartedly just let this go away. I think he wants to put the special prosecutor in place to do this so that President Trump can focus on the agenda for we the people. That's why he wants to focus on the one big beautiful bill. He wants to focus on, peace in the Middle East. He wants to focus on, these trade agreements that, he's doing right now, and getting rid of all these illegal immigrants and criminals out of our country. I think that's what his main focus is, and he's going to take it to the special prosecutor, let the special prosecutor handle Epstein and handle the weaponization of our government. And I can tell you, there's still people in the DNI, the ODNI, the FBI, the CIA. There's corrupt mofos. There's corrupt mofos in the NSA that work at Fort Meade that have not been weeded out yet. That needs to be weeded out immediately. The heads of the departments and the State Department needs to go in there and really weed out all of these Obama holdovers that are still there, that are still corrupt mofos, that are trying to hurt the president, that are trying to hurt we the people. Going into segment 4, one of the biggest things that Trump did campaign on was getting rid of the Department of Education and throwing it back to the states. Let's put up that slide, David Schrod. So the United States Supreme Court has handed a major victory to parents and students across the country by declaring the Trump administration may proceed on returning the functions of the Department of Education back to the states. Now, with this great Supreme Court decision, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, may begin this very important process. The federal government has been running our education system into the ground. They're going to turn it all around by giving the power back to the people. America's students will be the best, brightest, and most highly educated anywhere in the world. Thank you to the United States Supreme Court. I pivot to Elena on this. Take it. Or Elena, excuse me.
Man, the liberals are losing their minds over this. They absolutely hate having this go back to the states. They hate losing red tape and bureaucracy. And the most important functions of the Department of Education were helping kids with special needs, and that is not going away. That's going to the HHS. Things aren't being cut. And the administration of school loans, which I believe are going to the SBA, so to be administered. So the only thing that's then left at the DOE is propaganda and studies on how, multi-$100 million studies on how poorly we're doing year after year. And that's all that you can find. So I am thrilled about this, and I'm hoping that whatever little money was making it into the classroom, it can still, may still make it into the classroom, but will not necessarily be tied to dark agendas like gender indoctrination and DEI and all of the damaging things that the anti-American education protocols that they tied to funding that they insisted schools put into children's minds. Couldn't be happier.
So Seth, returning the Department of Education back to the states. We talk about your state a lot. You and I were very fortunate to get conservatives on the school board in Frederick County, and we also worked to get conservatives on the school board in Washington County. So how will this affect your state?
Well, it's Maryland. They'll go on like business as usual.
Even though you have conservatives on the school boards?
We don't have enough, and there'll never be enough on the school board. At least in Maryland, Republicans as a general are very hard to get together. They're hard to motivate. They're hard to get out. Liberals will get together on a dime, and all of a sudden you've got 1,000 of them out there. My opinion, and I'm sure Tim can disagree with me. My opinion is Maryland Republican Party is weak. They don't back candidates. They're more worried about having parties and happy hours. So nobody wants to run as a conservative. Why would you want to run as a conservative and get thrown out in the middle of an island and be by yourself? And the best example of that is Dan Cox. Ran for governor. The entire Republican Party turned their back on him and supported Wes Moore. There were Republicans who were running for other offices that donated money to Wes Moore and his campaign. Why would anybody in Maryland that's a conservative want to run as a conservative here? I wouldn't. So, yeah, we've got some conservatives on school boards, but that's it. We'll never have a majority conservative school board. It will not happen because nobody backs them. Mm-hmm. And liberals will lie. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear to get elected. They don't care. They have no morals or scruples. And the people that support them are just as stupid as they are and believe everything they're told. So they will continually get voted in, because if your whole campaign is I'm giving stuff away, I'm going to give you stuff, who's not going to vote for that? Hey, I'm going to get free stuff from this person. All right, yeah, you got my vote. Or you're going to support this. That's great. I'm going to get my vote. It's almost, what's that movie, Idiocracy? We're getting closer to that every year. It seems we're just getting closer. I'm just waiting for the lazy boy with the toilet built in to come out, and then we're done.
And then you can brush your teeth while you're doing it.
Yeah, sit there, watch and brush your teeth.
Sam, would you like to respond? You were mentioned.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree. Look, and look, I'm part of the Republican Party in Maryland, and I am that conservative, America First type Republican that is on an island. That said, I'll build my own base because there are a lot of us out there, but many people elected in the Republican Party in Maryland and many other states, they're just Democrats that couldn't win on their side. And they're in a conservative type district, so they run and they say the right things, and then they get established and they get the money and the connections, and it's very hard to beat an incumbent. So, yeah, the school boards, it will be a challenge, but the good thing is you'll see again what the founders that will run the school systems the way that they choose to, and you'll see which states do better. And then you'll have Maryland, who funds their children more than anybody. Maybe California's up there. I don't know the exact numbers, but they'll pay so much for educating a child with terrible results. And then you might have a school system in, say, I don't know, Oklahoma might be number one in the country, and they're spending half of the money, if that. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens. So it'll be a great case study to say, well, why are these states paying a lot less money and getting great education? And then the colleges are accepting these children from these states because they know that these children are reared in the proper way, compared to a state like Maryland, which is just wasting money and not really educating the children and more indoctrination. It's going to be very interesting. In a way, a lot of power from that union for these people who really don't. I personally think many of them don't give a damn about educating the children. It's really about that power that they're amassing and that control that they have. Very happy this is happening. But I'll end it with this. As a parent, always sure you're educating your kids first and foremost. And then secondly, you tell them those teachers work for you. Something I always told my kids. Don't be afraid of the teacher. Respect them, but they work for you. You get what you want from them.
That's a great point. Damon Gowda, to you. You live in a very liberal state too. Now, hopefully you'll get a Republican governor, but there are some parents that believe in homeschooling their children. My sister homeschools her children. And even though education is going to go back to the states, still a lot of parents are skeptical to have their children go into the public school system. What say you about, parents that are still a little nervous about having their kids, be in public schools and maybe homeschooling them still as an option?
Well, first up, this little guy snuck in right here. So he listened to you. He listened to you. He heard you loud and clear. So, all right, buddy, thank you.
He's so cute.
He's smarter than you.
Yeah, he probably is. He really is. I ask him how to navigate iPads sometimes.
He looks just like you with the no hair. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, but no, the way I see it, I'm being in the hands of the states is a good thing. But me living in the very blue liberal state, I'll just talk about Bill 5756, which is the indoctrination, the teaching transgender and stuff like that in school. I don't want to go all into it, but you need your state to step up, and the homeschooling stuff. It's tough for people to do that. Like if you have a 2-parent household and both have jobs, and how do you do that? How do you do that? It's almost impossible. Someone will have to quit their job. Now, would you not be? Can I not pay my taxes? If I can homeschool, can I escape? Paying my taxes for public schooling, but you can't do that. There were certain things that were proposed before in New Jersey to try to do that, but they got shot down. It didn't work. But yeah, I mean, if that could be a thing. If you want to homeschool your children and you don't like the way your state's going, then you would have to pass the right law to say, okay, well, I'm going to pay less property taxes because that's what goes to public schools. And I'll throw a plug out here for Jack Brangan and Peter Sykes running for assembly in LD6. There are people that want to change that. They're huge on the schools and what they're teaching in schools. They all have, Pete has kids and Jack has kids and grandkids as well, and they're really focused on it. And Jack should really run for governor, and hopefully he wins. He is against it as well. So all we can do is get out the vote for the right people to change this. If not, then we're going to still be in a blue liberal state that wants to teach us stuff in schools, and then we're going to be stuck paying these high taxes to send our kids to schools to be indoctrinated in this kind of stuff. So it is a good thing, taking away the power federally from the leaving the hand of the state. It is good, but it just depends what state you live in. If I lived in Florida, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Can I just add something though? I mean, I personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with the community paying for education. The way some people don't drive, but we all pay for roads. I mean, some people never have to call the police, but they pay for the police. I don't want to parse things out so much that it gets to the point of being ridiculous. But the education system does need to be looked at clearly and with a common sense approach to eliminate things that don't matter. For example, Chicago is in like a $700 million deficit for the Chicago public schools, and they're cutting 1,400 jobs. Some of those jobs are social justice, restorative justice counselors or whatever they are. Like nonsense, just nonsense jobs that are so top heavy. Everything should be about phonics, math, science, history, home ec and shop. Like that's it. Music and gym if you can swing it. But we have so much such an administrative burden. That's what the taxpayers should be upset about. Not that they're chipping in for schools, that they're chipping in for garbage.
So guys, let's go into. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. That's fine. No, go ahead. Fine.
Oh, I just wanted to go into this next segment, and then you can add. So midterm election predictions, guys. Speaker Johnson has put a lot of money into expanding the House of Representatives because we have a very small margin. What is your prediction on that? Also, state and local level positions right now. A lot of states want to expand it. A lot of states are looking to flip certain districts, to R. As we know, Tim Fazenbaker, he's running for Baltimore County Council District 9. It is the conservative /MAGA district. But of course, they want to throw in a rhino mofo in there to hashtag rhino his Dundalk and hashtag rhino his Edgemere. And we can't have it. I mean, the guy loves Ukraine. It's disgusting. So pivoting, I'll start with you, Damon Galdo, because you ran for Congress. Are you running? Because you kind of hinted it a little bit. And what do you think the prediction for the House of Representatives? Do you think we're going to expand the House of Representatives? Do you think we're going to keep it Republican in the midterms?
I'm hoping that it at least stays the same, but I don't know. It depends on what happens before November. There has to be there's always a big shock right before the election that somebody's going to pull out of their hat. But I think I think we may expand a couple seats in 26. I mean, I really hope. I hope we do. But we just have to keep the momentum going. But things like we talked about with Epstein stuff with Trump, I mean, a lot of people look at that stuff, the way he handled it, and losing some of his base. And I just hope that people pay attention to what's going on and just separate issues a little bit and just figure out, okay, this is a bad one. All right, but everything else going forward, electing the right people are going to make these things better. Because I kind of don't like when people tie like one issue to everything, and they're like, that's it. I'm flipping it. And that's why I've tried to make a big point earlier about how the Democrats right now are using this as a tool and saying release the files because they're just trying to go after the MAGA base and saying, we're here, we want them released, when they know that they can't release them for whatever reason it may be. So I just hope they don't tie one issue to another. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that one.
So, Tim, I want to pivot to you. So, as I said before, you're running in a very conservative /MAGA district. You are the conservative /MAGA guy. It is your seat to win. I personally endorsed and supported you, not just because I work with you, but even before I started working with you. I endorsed you because I believe in you, and your constituents believe in you. And the Democrat constituents and the independent constituents of your district, they believe in you and they love you. Because I've seen over the years what you have done for your community. So why in the hell is a rhino establishment trying to put in, he's really a Democrat in to possibly run against you And he stands with Senator Chris Van Hollen. He stands with Governor Westmore. He supports Ukraine. He has a picture of himself with the Ukrainian flag saying Ukraine first. On his Boy Scout uniform, it says Ukraine across the whole damn uniform. Why are they doing this? And why do they think that this rhino mofo could take you on?
Mofo, huh?
Well, I'm not going to curse. Like, I'm leaving the cursing to Mr. Eisenberg over there.
No, as we were talking about earlier, the establishment, they will run, liberals in a state like Maryland. They'll run them as Republicans, and we know them as rhinos. So obviously, with someone like myself, and many people, there's some similarities with President Trump and myself. Where one, I don't really care. I want to win, but I don't. I say what I want, and if it happens, it happens. And yeah, I'm the front runner in this because I've done so much in my community, and I represent what they want. There'll be things that I don't necessarily, maybe I don't agree with when a bill comes up, but if my community wants it and it's constitutional, I'll do the will of what they want. So yeah, they are scrambling, trying to find somebody that they can possibly run against me in this district, and they're trying to put up a guy he's a Pete Buttigieg supporter, and he hates Trump, but yet he's a Republican. And he's got a sketchy background, we'll just say. But the issue is I'm not concerned about him or anybody else or any Democrat that they put there, because the thing is, I, like President Trump, generally do what I say, and I put the people in my community first. And many of us have thought over the years, before the America First term was branded, we thought about what it meant. And I learned this from a Democrat back in the 80s. Democrat, it was mayor and then governor of Maryland, William Donald Schaefer. He talked about putting your communities first. And when he would visit these communities and they would have an issue, he would say, "Oh, that's a great question. You're going to be the person in charge of that." And people would be like, "What?" So you put it back into the community to say, you help address this and work with the government. That's what I do in this community. And that's what I think most Republicans and even Democrats, if they adopt that philosophy, one, will have a better America, and they probably would win. And in terms of the midterms coming up, I don't know what's going to happen. I could see it being a landslide for Republicans. I could see the Republicans losing. It just depends on what happens in this next year. As Rush used to say, you usually do not know what is going to be the issue on that election until much closer to election day. So it could be something completely different. I thought it was going to be the riots, but the riots kind of died. And then now we're talking about Epstein, and we're talking about who knows what coming in the future. But hopefully Republicans, being led by President Trump, will do the right thing, focus on their communities, do what they say that they were going to do, and we can continue weeding out these illegal voters and actually getting back to the roots of America so that we can build a new America with the original concepts.
And Tim, I want you to promote your event too, because you're having a little friend-raiser coming up in August. I do. August 3rd at a place in the area called Bayview Sports Bar.
It's a beautiful land, and I talked earlier about the water in this part of Maryland and everything. It's kind of what I'm going to be highlighting. But August 3rd is a friend raiser, means come, it's free. Drinks are on your own, that kind of stuff, great food and all that stuff. But we're looking for donations to help support. But the main thing is I need to get community people there to also show that they are in support, because it's not just about money. It's also about coming together and showing that in numbers, this is what we want and this is how we're moving forward. So it's going to be a great day. It'll be outside, dress casual. So Alexandra, I know you'll be there. Dress casual. And
nobody else, darn.
It's hard for some political people to dress down, but this is important in a sense, because we're just part of the people. And yeah, many people will see elected officials higher up, but we're the same people. It's just, but be comfortable, because it's going to be hot and it's going to be a great time. So look on my social media, my website, everything, timfazenbaker.com. You can find all the information. And if you're in the area, I hope to see you there. And if you're not, if you're coming from Jersey, that'd be great too.
All right. Well, Alexandra, cut this and make that man a political ad.
There you go. There you go. That's what I do. So I definitely will. Going to Seth, And I know you're skeptical of the Republican Party. Do you have faith that Speaker Johnson can get his act together to keep the Republicans in the House, in power in the House of Representatives? What do you think?
Well, before I answer that, I have a question for Tim. If it's casual, can I wear my Daisy Dukes and my tank top?
Oh, Lord.
What do you think with me?
Just do what they did on the White House lawn when Biden was in office. So
Exactly. I'm
All
wearing
right.
a banana hammock. That'll look great in the press.
I
Candidate.
know. I'll wear my sparkly thong too.
Well, all the Democrats will vote for you then.
There you go.
It's true.
But
Well, Tim did. I mean, sorry, not Tim. Seth did apply to be, Miss Maryland. Unfortunately, he didn't make it past the first round. Darn.
they didn't accept my application.
Last year
I'm
you would
sure
have made
it's
it.
a true fact.
Did you really apply for that?
No, he did. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
He
'cause-
did. No, Seth made T-shirts and everything.
last year there was a transsexual that won. I was like, well, why not me? So,
I sent him the application. He filled it out.
yep, that's me.
And he made T-shirts and everything. The
Wait.
T-shirts actually sold. It's really funny.
Do you have an actual rejection letter?
No, they just never
No,
responded
he
to me.
never responded.
Oh, well, that's
That was
not
the
that's
rejection letter.
discriminatory.
I know why, because I'm so pretty. They knew I was going to win.
Oh, and
It wouldn't have been
Seth's talent
fair.
was going to be peeing standing up. That was
That was my
talent.
talent. Yeah, peace standing up.
Oh my God. Oh.
But yes,
Go back to Homan in that clip. He did say it was cut out. He said, "I guarantee you, he peed sitting down as the guy was walking out."
I know.
Tom Homan threw about.
that's my
sorry.
superpower. But yeah, as far as the Republicans go, I don't know. Like Tim said, we're not going to know. It's going to be hard to pick anything until you get closer to that point. Then we'll see what's going on. But if we're looking like statewide in Maryland, other than Tim winning, I don't see a big shift in things just because that's how Maryland is.
I agree.
And if I had to predict now for like federal, unless, like I said, until we get closer, as long as no one steps in a big, smelly, steamy pile, I think things will probably stay about the same.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to edge more to one side than the other. I think it'll just kind of stay the same for a while.
Well, in
Yeah,
Maryland, I
thank you,
can tell
James.
you the congressional seats will not flip. It will stay
No.
one Republican Congressman, Andy Harris, and then the rest are going to be Democrat again.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even have to predict that. I just know it based on stats, based on everything. Neil Parrott can run for the fourth gazillionth time in CD6, and he ain't going to win. I hate to say it, Neil. Hate to say it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if he could, but
No,
it's
it's not in the cards for him. Elena.
I think that the big things are going to be, again, the economy. And if we can see a noticeable shift in the immigration, like people feel noticeably safer around the country, I think those things will help the Republicans. And at the end of the day, though, I think like Seth, that it's just going to probably hold the same. I still think that the leftists are working very, very hard, to register a new generation of voters as they're turning 18. These kids are being taught activism and anti-American hate in high school now, and they're going to be coming out in droves for the Democrat Party. And so we have to make sure to counter that.
Well, one thing, especially being a political consultant, living in these liberal states, living in these liberal districts, one of the biggest things is, yes, we're focused on the primary right now, but one of the biggest reasons why President Trump did so well in 2016 and 2020 and beyond is he crossed the aisle early on. He got a lot of Democrats and Republicans to switch their parties and vote Republican, especially if it's a closed primary, like in Maryland and some other states. And that's kind of a strategy that a lot of Republican candidates have been using in these liberal states and these liberal districts is don't be afraid to cross the aisle. That was the biggest thing with Neil Parrott, is that he was afraid to cross the aisle and he didn't get enough votes to cross the aisle to get him to win Frederick County. He needed Frederick County to win, but he didn't go across the aisle during the primary. So the same base was just voting for him over and over and over again. And then you went to the general, and because he didn't cross the aisle in the primary, the Democrats are going to vote Democrat. The independents they weren't voting for the Republican. Some of them even voted for the Democrats. Some of them didn't vote at all. So when you're living in those very liberal states, those liberal districts, you've got to cross the aisle early on. We've said that to people running for county executive in certain liberal states, like I'd say Maryland, because we got 2 Maryland people here. And that's really, what you have to do. You cannot be afraid. You cannot be afraid. And Tim and I, we're friends with a lot of moderate Democrats because we can agree with some of the stuff and we can sit with them and reason with them. I've even reasoned with moderate Jewish people. I have moderate Jews. I've reasoned with them. I've got them to cross the aisle, especially after October 7th. So it's okay to cross the aisle. It's okay to have those quote uncomfortable conversations. But if you don't do it, then you don't go anywhere. And I do believe that Tim is the only person that is going to make the difference. That Tim is the only hardcore conservative that's going to get in. I know that the state delegation in Annapolis, they want to expand. They have a very small Maryland Freedom Caucus right now. It's not going anywhere. They're expanding the Baltimore County Council. They want to make it 5-4. It's going to be 6-3. It's going to be 6 Democrats and it's going to be 3 Republicans. And that's the truth. And, it's sad. And it's because they don't cross the aisle. And it's because they unfortunately want to take good conservative districts and turn them rhino-y or turn them Democrat. Or you have people that call themselves Republicans, like the guy that's trying to run against Tim, but they're not really Republicans. They shake hands with the devil. And, it's what Tim said, forming this army, building this army up and getting people that are like-minded to override the establishment and to kill the deep state, which is the truth. Well, this has been a phenomenal hour and a half. We love the Pulse. Please, everybody, follow us every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. on the Pulse. Again, don't forget to follow everybody on this network. Don't forget to follow Tim Fazenbaker at America One Tim Faze on X, on Facebook, Tim Fazenbaker. And of course, don't forget to give him a beautiful donation, timfazenbaker.com. Thank you so much. And please go to his event August 3rd. We'll be promoting that until the day of. And then, of course, we have Damon Galdo with the Jersey Shore at Damon Galdo on X, at Damon Galdo on Facebook.
Oh, there.
Barbara, the base mother. Are you Elena Barbara on X?
The base mother.
The base mother on X. There you go. And also Seth Eisenberg at the Conservative Corner on Facebook. And he's also on X at, was it Conserve Seth?
Conservative Seth.
Conservative Seth. Also, and don't forget that the Conservative Corner is on every Sunday night from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Huh?
I had big hands, little screen. So
he's so conservative that he left a letter out on purpose.
That's right.
There you go.
Seth, do you have any of your shirts left?
I'll have to check.
You got to send me one or wear one on the next Pulse.
I want a shirt
That's awesome. I love it.
Seth Eisenberg from Miss Maryland. I really do. I have to order another one. Whatchamacallit? Now you guys threw me off where I was promoting all you people. Damon Galdo, the Jersey Shore, Monday nights from 8 to 9, Fridays from 8 to 9 p.m., and a repeat of your radio show. Is that correct, Damon? I don't want to butcher it all.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then, of course, don't forget to follow me, Alexandra Levine Live. My show is every Tuesday and Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. And also, don't forget to follow this network at America's Pulse Network on X, at America's Pulse Network on Rumble, at America's Pulse Network. Now we're on Parler. At America's Pulse Network on True Social. Don't forget to follow me, Alexandra Levine on Facebook, Alexandra Levine on Instagram, Air Levine, nobody needs to know the year. Rumble, Air Levine 8, whatever. On on True Social at Alexandra LEVI 20 on X. There we go, 20 years old. There we go. That's me. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming on the Pulse. And the reason that we listen is because this is the Pulse of America. We stand for God and we stand for country. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
My hand disappeared again.
Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country, America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.